Year after year, tornadoes keep coming back, but often it's not in the places that you would think. We cannot control where tornadoes go, but we can track patterns. And those patterns are changing. These 5 areas, these 5 metros, have seen the biggest increase of high-intensity storms and tornadoes in the past 2 decades. As in, the occurrence of tornadoes has been ramping up. Alabama, specifically Birmingham, Hoover, that area, Hattiesburg,
The
Mississippi.
last tornado that hit Hattiesburg was damaging, but no loss, no life.
Kansas City, Missouri, Clarksville, Tennessee.
Lance was just showing us produced a strong and violent tornado in the northern suburbs of Nashville, Tennessee.
And Evansville, Indiana, Kentucky. It's on the line.
It was on the ground longer than they first thought.
Now, these are the 5 places where tornadoes have really been ramping up in the past 2 decades. But there's another area, and that's where tornadoes have historically been found. In the U.S., there's this area called Tornado Alley. Traditionally, this area stretches from Texas up into Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, and even South Dakota, and some of those places on the edge. Historically, this is where tornadoes have occurred. It's called Tornado Alley. In fact, there's even this idea that tornadoes don't really happen outside of this area, which isn't true. So I can't help but notice that the 5 areas I mentioned earlier are all outside of Tornado Alley. So actually, more tornadoes have been occurring in the southeast and the Midwest. Sometimes you'll see this referred to as Dixie Alley. So what's happening? Why are tornadoes showing up in places that they weren't really happening before? Well, this could be changes in the jet stream patterns. It could be warmer temperatures in those regions. And it could be these storm systems that are tracking further east than they normally would. And I'm not a meteorologist. I'm just talking about this because I live in Tornado Alley. So those that I listed first in the east are spots for the new tornado-prone areas. But we have the old ones too that still get tornadoes, like Dallas and North Texas. The whole of Kansas falls into Tornado Alley. Most of Oklahoma does as well. And sometimes Oklahoma feels especially famous for tornadoes, and I may feel like that because I live here. But it does make national news because of tornadoes. Florida actually makes this list, and I think it's because it's extra warm there, but they don't get really violent tornadoes. And Missouri is also on this list as well. So I've given you a long list, many lists of places where tornadoes are prone to hit, and you're saying, why are you telling me this? So before I jump into this next set of data, I need to give you a definition. So I'm going to use the letters EF with a number right behind it. EF stands for Enhanced Fujita. So the Enhanced Fujita Scale, which came into being in 2007, is how we measure the intensity of tornadoes. It's used to assign a tornado rating based on estimated wind speeds and related damage. An EF5 tornado is the strongest on record. There have been several in the U.S., and the wind speeds reach over 200 miles per hour. So as a resident of a very famous tornado state, often I hear that people moving into our state or thinking about moving into our state are a little concerned about our tornado phenomenons. And I get it. It is super scary. It's kind of crazy. My husband, Handsome, was in the May 2013 tornado that happened in Moore, and he was actually working in the hospital that got destroyed, and so he walked out of that wreckage after the tornado came through. But this next stat, I think this might shift your thinking a little bit. Between 1984 and 2003, Texas experienced more than 395 EF2 plus tornadoes, so EF2 or stronger. This means winds were reaching more than 111 miles per hour. During that same period, Oklahoma experienced 226 EF2 plus tornadoes, so that 20-year period. And Arkansas experienced 194.
Now, those EF4, EF5 tornadoes are extremely rare even for Oklahoma. Of course, they do happen, but if you take all the tornadoes dating back to 1950 that have happened across the Sooner State, the EF5 is the red sliver on the pie chart. That's only 0.1% of the tornadoes. EF4, 1.4%.
So those are the top ranking states for number of tornadoes during that 20-year period from 1984 to 2003. Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. But in the time period after that, 2003 to 2024, some different states took the lead. Mississippi actually experienced the most tornadoes rated over an EF2 or an EF2 or greater, 303 during that 20-year period. That's a 70% increase for that state. Alabama and Georgia also experienced a 60% increase each during that 20-year period. This translates into 277 total tornadoes in that 20-year period for Alabama and 194 total in that 20-year period for Georgia. Tennessee has also seen a significant increase in the occurrence of tornadoes in the state. You can honestly look at numbers a variety of ways, and no 2 years are the same. That's why the decade works better as the amount of time that we're talking about. These numbers make it very clear. Tornadic activity, the storm activity, it's not just increasing, it's actually shifting eastward, and it's happening very quickly. So knowing that tornadoes form when warm air and cold air masses collide, it makes sense that as temperatures change, the places where tornadoes are forming the most are changing as well. So this is why tornadoes happen in the spring and in the fall when we have both warm and cold air available. Trust me when I say that storm season can still be a scary time in the OG tornado alley like Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, but we can't ignore that there is also a growing issue in the eastern states. I'm Marcie Billen, and I'm a real estate agent, and I work here in Oklahoma, and I'm connected to real estate agents all over the country. If you fill out this short form on my website, then I can get you connected to who you need to be connected to if you're thinking about relocating. You'll find the link for this in the description and also in the comments below. So I would say that one of the reasons that I feel safe, even living in Tornado Alley, even living a mile from the city of Moore, where all those tornadoes have happened and it became so famous, is because weather is kind of a big part of our culture and we're very prepared for it. And we know that we're all in it together. It's a rhythm that our society gets into, and it's unmistakable. So this weather thing, tornadoes, doesn't make it a bad place to live. It just kind of adds a little bit of adventure. So wherever tornadoes go next, you still have to keep an eye on the weather. You have to keep an eye on the sky. You have to know what to do in case of a tornado. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope that you watch this video next.